It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. So I'm interviewing somebody who I find fascinating. Okay. Ari, I'm not even attempting to pronounce your last name. You're going to introduce yourself there. Okay. But
sounds good.
Our company name is Colophia. Okay. And I want to get into the origin of that a little bit. Ari has over 10 years of branding experience and design experience and is a certified brand strategist and UX expert. She has transformed businesses, visions, into a tangible form that helps their businesses set themselves apart from their competitors. She is an author of Creating Websites That Convert, information we want to know. She has a focus on women leaders, especially in the Femtech area. So many things in just that I could ask you. So let's jump in. Ari, thank you for joining me today. And please correctly pronounce your full name.
Thank you, Ivy, for having me today. My name is Ari Krzyzek. Now, here's the thing. That last name is obviously my husband's last name. He's Polish. It took me 5 years to finally pronounce it correctly. So you are excused from not able to pronounce it correctly.
I humbly say thank you. So Colophia, okay, building this brand, and speaking of your husband, you and your husband are doing this together. How did that start? Where did that originate from?
Yes. Okay. This takes me back 11 years ago. I started off as a graphic designer. I was born and raised in Bali. And, if you have gone to a third world country like Bali or Indonesia in general, right, there's this lack of understanding around like how much should I really charge for myself, or even when you try to get a job and understanding how much people should pay you. So back then I was only paid $250 per month, and that made it into a discussion between me and my husband. He was shocked, obviously, because he's from here, he's from the United States, right? He asked me whether or not I want to explore something else, and I told him, okay, so what is out there? He introduced me to the world of freelancing, and with all these different types of online gigs that you can get, like Upwork, or back then there was freelancer.com. I was really intrigued, and I ended up quitting my job and jump into that particular.
Well, that's bold.
It was. Hey, I didn't have anything to lose, right?
Yeah, that is true. I get it.
But that was honestly the start. That was the start of me just thinking about, what do I really want? Beyond my 9 to 5, what do I really crave? And I realized I just want to explore what would the design world and the opportunities are in for my career. But fast forward when I, trying to figure out in my husband, where should we live? Because I was in Bali, he's here in Chicago, and we were going back and forth. Should we live in Bali? Should we live in Chicago?
Probably if you asked me that today, I would say Bali.
Oh, yes. Of course, right? I mean, this is winter here.
But I probably have a very, very different viewpoint of living in Bali, because I'm seeing living on the water, kind of doing my client calls. Okay, that's a good image. But it's very different when you live, as you refer to, as a third world place.
Yes, that would be nice though, especially in the winter, right?
Exactly.
Anyway. So, what I did realize in terms of the support system, right? I didn't have that when I was growing my freelancing career, or even, getting into this new journey as an entrepreneur. There wasn't enough resources for me to grow. And I thought, you know what? I think I need to get out. I need to get out of the island, and I just need to find these resources. So I agreed to move to Chicago, pack my bags, get my blessing from my parents, and venture out to find the resources I needed. But little did I know that there are other opportunities, right? Once we got married, my husband proposed to me again and say, would you want to be my business partner? I was like, sure, what could go wrong? A lot of things could go wrong, right?
Being business partners as spouses, that is opening a door to what can go wrong versus what can go right.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
We have a front door and a back door. Let's call it that in that house or apartment or wherever it is we're living.
And you're right, Ivy. And the thing is, we didn't know what we didn't know. And I think a lot of us are in that same boat when it comes to either life, or a relationship or even like business. What we didn't know is that we were just too close to each other when it comes to building a proper business and building a professional relationship. So we had to kind of step back in terms of like, can I see you as not my spouse, but as my business partner, respecting each other and also creating boundaries, from and with each other. So that was a whole, different types of learning on its own. So yeah, that was unique.
So let's talk about now, like, so you've built this business over the last 10 years or so. Where, in narrowing down the focus, very much in Femtech, very much about women leaders and women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Was that yours? Did you push for that, or did your husband? And if so, why?
Yes. I did not push for it in the beginning, nor did I know I wanted to, exclusively working with woman-led brands. In the beginning, like everybody else, I wanted to target everybody, right? And my mentor had told me, like, that is a recipe for disaster, Ari. It's like, of course you don't listen. when your mentor tell you what to do, just follow it. It's as simple as that, simply because they have gone through it. But
and I'm going to stop you right there, because I did the same thing early on. I had great mentors early on, and they would tell me to do A. And so I was like, and then I do like N in the alphabet, and it took me a while to get out of my own way.
And it was hard, right? Because we have this big imagination in our head that it's going to go, our way. It's like, but hey, they have gone through that, and they're telling you to do, here's my mistakes, here's what you should do so that you don't create the same mistakes, and yet you do it anyway. But, that is something that I personally feel like I had to go through. But because of the different engagement I have here in Chicagoland area, when I got here, not knowing anybody beyond my husband and his friend and his family, I was welcomed with really warm support by the community of women entrepreneurs in Chicago. So it's truly amazing experience. I felt like I was heard, I was supported, I was guided, and it genuinely helped me get to where I wanted to be. So to be honest with you, I wouldn't be able to grow my business and, start looking at hiring and things like that without the support of these women. So it almost felt like there's this huge synergy when it comes to like women supporting women. And when people told me about this, like, yeah, you're right. Or at least they thought so. But the thing is, in every single community or whatever it is that you do, there's always bad apples. And I had a fair share of bad apples where women say that, yeah, I'm supporting you, but at the end they were so hypocrite, right? And kind of push you down. But not all of them are like that, though. If you find the right support, especially the ones that truly feel they can support you, hold on to that. Because honestly, that's what I did. So yeah, to answer your question, that's how I eventually find my way in terms of like helping to support women-led brands, and now primarily in technology and femtech as well.
So I'm 100% always around. I work with men and women. I have for years. And I have a soft spot in my heart for women-led organizations. And you went forward and you got WBE certified. You're the founder and the leader of this organization. So when we look at where you're going as a businesswoman, what has been some of the things you're most proud of, and what have been some of those obstacles you've navigated?
That's a lot.
That's a big question, isn't it? I don't often ask this, by the way. It just is going there.
I almost feel like every single year there's this big challenge that we would, encounter. And then we go through it, we figure it out, and we passed it, right? But then you come at another challenge, like year after year, like moment after moment, it just comes to your way. And I think that's how it is when it comes to building a business. There's always going to be a new challenge that really honestly challenging you to grow. For me specifically, there was a few things that I felt like has become a moment for us to realize we want to really grow and, scale the company. And the first time is when I was still working at Sears Holding. And this is because, in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing, nor did my husband. So we had to, have one of us go back to corporate to help fund the company. So I ended up doing that and work on the company part-time. But ever since we see the growth, ever since we start, connecting more and being more in the community here in Chicago, we got a lot of business. I couldn't keep up. And that was really hard because I was also pregnant at a time and then delivering my first son. It was overwhelming and it was almost hard to choose. What should I do? Should I just go the easy route, right? Or should I really risk it and pursue what I really wanted to do? And I realized, my heart is in the business. My heart is with the baby, right? With this new small family that I'm building. I need to get out of Sears. So I did that. And my husband was like, no, don't say goodbye to the paycheck because it's
right. It's being ready to take that next big risk, and letting go of the security, it's letting go. It's having that baby, which can be a company as well, and letting go of the security blanket, which is, the day job, the paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that was hard, definitely. But when you have a big vision, right, and it deep down, you can figure it out along the way. No matter what it takes, you will go after it. And that's exactly what I had. And I pushed for it. So even though we felt like, we're going to have to figure it out, we're going to have to hustle hard, I figured it out. And that was great because it proved to me that if we have the right tools, the right strategy, the right resources, you will get there. So that was one. And to be honest, surviving pandemic was also huge for us. And now this year, it's about really thinking of what we have done in the past decade and what would the next decade look like. So it feels like, the beginning, middle, and end is almost in this first phase for us. But what's next is now getting excited for me simply because there's just so much that we have done and we want to, accumulate all of these different approach and knowledge and share to more people. And that's, where the next parts maybe later on going to come in.
So what drove you to write a book? Because, now you're running a business, you have a child, a lot of spare time in your life, right? And then you write a book. Why?
That's a good question. A lot of people ask us, me and my husband, why we ended up writing the book. I did co-write it with my husband, and it makes the most sense simply because we have this very complementary skill set. He's very analytical. He's my nerd. He's all the strategist behind all things data and website. And I'm this creative brain that handles all things user experiences, branding. It almost feels like we're this huge united front when we combine our forces. And I've seen so many different books out there and resources out there on my website, and they focus so much on the final deliverables, like the actual website, but not so much in terms of like the thinking behind it, the strategy and the planning behind it. So we often come to different discussion with our client, and people would come to us and ask, like, what do I do now with my website now that we have it? Well, the main reason why they ended up doing that is because there wasn't a strategy in place in the beginning. Now they had to go back and then refigure things out. But what if you actually have a plan in the beginning, a strategy in the beginning, everything else comes easier for your website simply because you know where's that website's place in your marketing world or in your business system, and how to leverage it to help you guide your goals to hit it.
So when we look at having a strategy behind creating the website, people think, oh, it looks great, that's important, and it is.
Yeah.
But what are those mechanisms? How can we, as leaders of organizations, when we're going to either start a business and have a website, redesign the website? I know I updated my website, redid the whole thing. Since we're in our 15th year now when this airs, and we are a couple of iterations in, obviously, and we did a big redesign for a relaunch 2018 into 2019. When you guide clients, what do you guide them with to start thinking about?
It's a very simple question, right? And oftentimes people forget about it. The simple question that you can ask yourself before thinking about investing in a website or maybe creating a website on your own, ask yourself, what is the purpose of the website? Sure, we're in business, right? And everything is digital. You need a website, but don't just create a website just because you feel that your business needs a website. Will it serve a certain purpose? Will it actually make your user or your audience life easier by going to your website? Can you actually leverage it as a way to gain more bookings, more leads, or more sales even through the website, right? So I think there's so many ways to use a website depending on what is it that you want it to be. So often that particular, question is overlooked by a lot of people.
And in creating your own branding, that has to be challenging. Because it makes me think about, for all the years, for the 20 plus years I spent in the printing industry, I never did a brochure for myself. I had a kick-ass business card, let me tell you. But I was simple, elegant, and I just never did. I was the shoemaker without shoes. So that led me to think about, like, wow, how challenging will that be to create your own website when you're selling website, create your own brand, and the thought that goes into it when that's what you actually sell.
I was actually like you in the beginning, right? I feel like all of us are like that. We were so good in specific things for our client, for the people that we want to serve. But for ourselves, we most of the time probably, forget about it, right? Or the task itself being pushed to the bottom of your list every single time. I was the same. And in the beginning, I was creating, my logo, and I felt like, yeah, let's just call it a day. That's what we have. Now let's go to market. It's okay for the beginners, or I would say like any of you who are currently in your first year of business. If this is what you can afford right now, and this is what you can handle right now, go for it. However, though, a few things that you might want to take into an account will be the core pieces of your brand. I'm not talking about your logo, by the way. I'm talking more about, who are you as a business, right? Is it clear what's your positioning in the market? Is it clear who your target audience are, right? And then is it clear the connection between you as the brand and the audience, and what you're truly delivering for them, your USP, whatever that might be, right? So as long as you have all these different pieces clear in your head, and you have, clarity in how to express it through the right messaging, then you're pretty much set to test it out to market, right? And gain some feedback, review it, and then refine it down the road.
So Ari, you've built a brand, you've built a team. So share a little bit of building the team out.
That was hard. That was really hard, to be honest. I felt like,
and you know what I love about you is you are so honest, you're so authentic, and so real to talk with, to work with. And I really, really respect that. I just want you to call that out.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Ivy.
building a team is hard.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it was. And especially when people have the tendency to, tell you that it's easy, just outsource it. It's like, yes, I understand that. But there's this big attachment that we have as a business owner with our business, right? This is our baby, right? And we felt like we know it through and through. And we almost feel so scared that if we pass it to somebody else, we're going to lose the either authenticity or even the ownership to it or the creativity to it. And I was generally having a hard time back then trying to figure out, how do I pass my creativity, right? My own approach to a project to my team members. I know it's important to scale, to grow, and I need these new people coming and join me with the team and building the team and, delivering more comprehensive services. But it was hard to imagine what that relationship might look like, right? And also whether or not they're going to be able to understand how I see the solution that we'll be delivering to the client and how they're going to execute it. So what I ended up doing is that I went through this phase of like working with so many different interns and then part-timers. And then finally, when I feel like I'm ready, I slowly let go things, right? Bit by bit, and realize that, okay, I can get the hang of this. I can trust people. I can help guide them towards, specific solution that I have in my head, transfer that over to them, and then have them complete the rest of the, project so that we can work together as a team and deliver it to the client.
So last question, what has surprised, now that you've been leading a company for about a decade, what has surprised you?
Was something that I'm still surprised about?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. The big thing that I noticed would be, the way people would perceive specific thing, right? It could be around, how much or how long things would take. And this is mainly around, typical projects and stuff like that. And I feel like this has to do with specific type of clients too. For solopreneurs who are, let's just say they're in a tight budget, tight schedule, they expect something done very fast and also in less budget as well. But for some people, they want the right solution to be completed. They won't really care about how much it's gonna, how much it's gonna cost or how long it's gonna take. They just want things to be done properly. So I think, people's perception still surprised me sometimes, because I felt like, yeah, we do this, between 3 to 6 months sometimes. And some people would say, oh my God, it's that long. Or sometimes they would say like, oh my goodness, okay, that sounds great. Go for it. So I would say that part, but the other part too, this is around business, right? And mainly around how, when you tell people what you do, the way they think of it in their head can be sometimes different. So I keep telling people like, yeah, we do website. And in their mind, it's like, oh, she does marketing. It's like, yeah, sure. Okay, that works. So I found it still like perception is really tricky sometimes. And I felt like if you don't hone in how you pitch yourself and how clear it is for your target audience, they might have quite different perception about it.
Love that. Ari, thank you for joining me here today on her success story. I, encourage everybody to check out Colophia, because your work is beautiful.
Thank you.
And very much check out the book, Made to Sell, creating websites that convert, because we put a lot of time, energy, and finance behind great websites. But if they're not working for your business, where's our energy really going?
I like that.
So, listeners, Ari, how can people reach out to you and connect to you?
Oh, that's easy. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on it. So search me on LinkedIn and we'll get connected that way. Or you can also check out my website, cklph.com.
Excellent. And listeners, if you've enjoyed today's conversation, think for a moment and say, what are your biggest takeaways from this? What resonated with you? And then say, what are you going to do about it? It's great to listen. And I love that we have so many wonderful listeners for her success story. but always show up and say, hey, what am I learning from this? And based on that learning, that takeaway, what action am I going to take? Feel free to leave it in the comments below, share it with me on LinkedIn or on Slater Success, and share it with Ari as well. And for viewers, take a moment, hit subscribe. And if you enjoyed this conversation, share it with somebody meaningful to you. Thank you for joining me here today on Her Success Story. See you next time.